Hi, welcome to Virtual CB1A. This is Ma'am Rena, and for today's video discussion, we are going to talk about bonds. So, what are bonds? Bonds are promissory notes issued by a corporation, by the federal government, by a city, or any other entity in order to raise money to pay its expenses or debts. So, bonds are bought and sold in multiples of 10. So, everything that is a multiple of 10, yan, dun mo lang siya pwede i-purchase. Hindi pwede yung mga half values. So, for example, pwede kang bumili ng 150 bonds, 10 bonds, 20 bonds, 30 bonds, and so on. Everything that is a multiple of 10. So, bonds have a maturity date. That is the year and the date when the issuer of the bond has to pay the bondholder the face value of the bond. So, the face value of a bond, this is just an example ha. The face value of a bond is $100. For example, meron tayong bond na $100. You can purchase it at different actual prices depending on its quality or rating. So, for example, very poor yung quality ng bond. It is only sold for about $900. Ay, $900 tuloy. $90 for each bond. So, the face value at the end of the maturity date is $100. But, since its rating is not that good, so medyo mababa yung quality nung bond, the actual price is just $90. And it varies depending on the quality or rating. Or, in other words, it is the extent the bond analysts trust in the ability of the bond issuer to repay the buyer at the face value at maturity, as well as the interest the issuer pays to the bondholder. Another important quantity to consider when buying or selling a bond is its yield. So, the yield, medyo i-clarify natin to mamaya kasi medyo confusing yung example na given dito sa material natin. It is the interest. Take note, it is the interest, not the interest rate, divided by the current price of the bond. So the yield will increase when the price decreases, and the yield will decrease when the price increases. Okay, alin yung good dito? So the yield will increase when the price decreases. This is bad. Kasi we want our bonds to reach its face value. So at the end of the face value, we expect it to be less. So at the end of the term or the maturity date, dapat it is really close to the face value. So we expect the yield to decrease. So the investor must also consider whether to buy a tax-free municipal bond or some company bond from which the interest is not tax-free. So usually kapag ka federal, pag government, it is tax-free. And then kapag ka private company bond, it is not tax-free. Tapos may mga tinatawag din tayong junk bonds. But from the word itself, di ba medyo intimidating na siya kasi junk, parang nakakatakot. These are high risk. But why do these bonds attract a lot of investors? Kasi they tend to pay higher interest. Yun nga lang susugal ka. Kasi although they pay higher interest, they can pay higher interest. There is also a possibility or a probability of you losing money. Kasi kung high yung interest niya, pwedeng higher din yung loss. Higher din yung probability ng loss mo. So, katulad din to ng stocks kanina. Yung stocks, they don't really guarantee a certain ROI kasi pwedeng maging negative yung ROI mo. Kapag ka bumagsak yung stock market, tapos dun mo napili mag-sell, lugi ka. So, ang stocks, you have to buy the dip and then sell the pump. O, kaya sell ka sa mataas na value. Buy low, sell high. Ganon. So, dito naman, ganon din sa bonds. There is a probability that the bond will not reach its face value. Possibly, nalulugi yung company kung saan binili mo siya, o kaya nalulugi yung junk bonds, walang investors, hindi sila makapag-expand. Pwedeng bumaba rin yung value niya kaysa dun sa value kung kailan mo siya binili. For example, yung kanina, you only bought it for about $90. The face value, you expect it at the end of its maturity to reach $100. But the actual price, papalapit na yung maturity, is just $85. There is a probability that you will incur loss or malulugi ka. So, let's look at this as an example. Ito hindi to lugi na silip ko na to kanina. So, on January 2, 2003, Mary bought 10 bonds maturing in 2010. Hindi lang dito nasabi, but it is exactly 8 years. Tama ba? 2003, 2004, 2005. Oo, 8 years siya. Exactly 8 years, January 2. Magmamature siya in the year 2010. And it pays 5% interest. So, she paid $95 for each bond. Hindi rin nasabi dito kanina. Di ba sabi ko ang gulo na example natin? So, hindi rin nasabi dito kanina that we will also hold the face value of $100 just like in the example that we discussed earlier. So the face value of this bond is also $100 for a total of $950. She also bought 10 bonds maturing in 2020 paying 6% interest for $90 each. A total of asan na ako? Ayun, $900. If she keeps all 20 bonds to maturity. Problem A, how much cash will she receive for the bonds? Problem B, how much will she have earned in interest by the end of 2010 and by the end of 2020? Take note that the interest is different from ito, yung face value natin. Next, C, what is the yield of the 2010 bonds in 2003 and in 2010? What is the yield of the 2020 bonds in 2003 and in 2010? Okay, so let's start with the first problem. On January 2, 2003, Mary bought 10 bonds maturing in 2010. And again, the face value that we expect at the maturity date is $100. And additionally, it pays 5% interest. The problem also failed to make it more or the problem also failed to make it more specific. This is annual, ha? So every year there is it is expected to pay about 5% interest. So again, she paid $95 for each bond for a total of $950. Yun yung magmamature ng 2010. And then secondly, she also bought 10 bonds maturing in 2020 paying 6% interest for $90 each. Since we are only looking for the cash that she will receive for the bonds at the end of their maturity date, ayan, nakalagay dito, if she keeps all 20 bonds to maturity, how much cash will she receive for the bonds? Ito, we are going to disregard muna the interests. We are only after the face value. So, let's start with the one with the face value of $100 that will mature in 2010. So, at the end of 2010, ayan, dun sa, at the end ng maturity niya, she initially paid $95, right? And it is expected to grow to $100. So, how many bonds did she buy? So, she bought 10 bonds. So, yung 10 bonds natin, all we have to do is to multiply it by our face value. So, we are going to have 10 times 100, which is our face value. We are expected to get a total of $1,000 for the bond expiring or maturing at the end of 2010. Okay? So, this is one. Next, doon naman tayo sa kabila. Gawin natin red yung pangsulat. So, at the end of 2020 naman, we have another bond that was initially purchased at $90. And then from $90, it will grow to $100. Its face value. Again, we bought 10 bonds, or Mary bought 10 bonds at the face value of 100. So she expects to get $1,000 as well from the 2020 bonds. So she only paid $900, but in 2020, she expects to get 1,000 bonds. So all in all, for 2010, she will get 1,000, and in 2020, she will get 1,000. Okay? Okay. So this time, let's go to B. Ito medyo complicated siya, but we are going to tackle this part by part. Okay, how much will she have earned in interest by the end of 2010? So, by the end of 2010, ilang taon siya magigain ng 5% na interest? So, bibilang tayo. So, from 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010. So, yan yung lalakarin nung bond niya. Okay, so magkakaroon siya ng compounding interest noong 2003 on the initial year up to 2010. So, all in all, you have 8 years wherein it'll compound or it'll earn interest. So, dun muna tayo sa 2010. So, at the end of 2010, meron kang dalawang bonds. Hindi lang itong magmamature ng 2010, but also the one maturing in 2020 kasi lalakad din siya dito sa mga years na to from 2003 to 2010. Mag-earn din siya ng interest. So, for the computation of the interest, ang ginagawa lang naman natin sa kanya, for the interest, we use the principal and then multiply it by the rate and of course, the time. PRT lang naman tayo. Principal times the rate times the time. Okay, so for here, compute muna tayo ng interest for the face value and then we are going to adjust it to the total number of years. So, dito sa example natin from the book, ang inilagay na kasi kaagad niya, interest that it will earn per bond per year. So, how did we get this $5 here? Explain lang natin siya isa-isa kasi talagang medyo confusing siya. So, remember that you have a face value of 100, right? So, from the face value of 100, you have to pay 5% interest. So, si 100, i-multiply natin siya by 0.05. That is actually your interest. Siyempre, per year. So, annual lang siya. The face value is the principal. The rate is your rate here, 5%. And of course, the time is for the annual. You're going to have $5 interest per bond. So, yung $5 interest per bond mo, yun yung i-multiply mo by the time. Our time here. Time, this is from 2003 to 2010. And then, quantity nung bonds mo. And of course, the interest. Ayan. So, dito galing yung mga values natin dito. So, 8 years, 10 bonds, $5 interest per bond per year. So, we have 8 times 10 times 5, which will give you $400 for the 2010 bonds. Pero meron din tayong 2020 bond, 'di ba? So at the end of 2010, parehas silang 2010, magkano na yung ma-earn mo from the 2020 bond? So from the 2020 bond, lalakad din siya ng 8 years, meron kang 10, tapos mag-earn siya ng how much na interest? So that is 6%. I-replace lang natin dito ng 0.06. It is easy to compute that you will get $6 for each. So you will have here $6. And that will give you 4,000. Ilan to? 48. Yan. $480. So this is solely for 2010. So meron pa tayong from 2011 to 2020, 'di ba? This is for another 10 years. So dito sa 10 years na 'to, may ilalakad siya na 10 years, 10, tapos 6 ulit. Yung remaining years for the bond at the end of 2020 that you bought for $90 each. So you will earn an additional $600. So all in all, we have 400 plus 480 plus $600. In total, you will get 1,480 dollars. Okay, let's check it from the book. Yan. So you will get 1,480 by the end of 2020. Okay, so dito sa C, ito yung sinasabi kong medyo confusing siya. Kasi dapat ang i-divide mo is the interest, not the interest rate. 'Di ba? So the yield of the 2010 bonds in 2003 is 5%. Divided by 95, which is 5.2%. If you do this, you will not end up with 5.2%. Instead, you will end up with about 0.052%. Parang ganun siya. So, no, this is not very clear. Actually, ang titingnan mo dyan, yung interest na nakuha natin dito, yung 5% and yung 6%. So, let's go to part C. So, ang sinasabi dun sa computation natin, it should be the interest divided by current value or current price. In some books, this is given by, syempre, yung interest na na-earn mo divided by the present value. So, dito, na-compute natin kanina the interest to be $5, not 5%. So, this should be $5 divided by, ayaw niya sumulat. Ayaw talaga niya sumulat. Ayun. Divided by the current price, which is, ang current price natin for the 2010 bond is 95. So, you will end up with, kuha lang ako ng calcu kasi medyo malayo yung calculator ko. Yung phone. I suggest you also get a calculator. So, this is the yield, ha? Yield for the 2010 bond. Ayan, ayaw pa magbukas ng calcio. Although, nakalagay kasi dun sa, sa book natin is 5.2. Hindi kasi nagtatapos lang sa 5.2. May mga kasunod siyang decimal places. So, I want to show you the approximated value that is closer to our real value for the yield. So, we have $5 divided by 95. You will get 0.05263 or about 5.263%. So, hindi siya basta 5.2 lang. It is actually 5.263%. In some books, ito na kasi yung pinakasimpleng nahanap ko na pwede kong i-explain sa inyo yung mga bonds, stocks. So, I settled with this one. But in other books, you will encounter the terms future value, which is the same as the face value, and then the present value, which is the same as the current price. Okay? Okay. Now, doon naman tayo sa 2020. Ano yung yield niya? So, for the 2020 yield, again, we have interest divided by current price. We already computed the interest to be $6 divided by its current price, which is 90. Ang current price niya ay $90. We have 6 divided by 90. That is about 0.0667 or 6.67%. Or kung gusto mo 6.667, pwede rin naman. Since lahat yan ay 6 na yung kasunod, 6666666. Okay? Okay, so I think that is the end of our discussion for the bond. Ayan, ko-compute kasi ako kanina, ko-compare ako ng formula. So this is the end of our discussion for the bond. I will make a video for the next topic. Let's just see what the next topic will be. Ayan, profit and loss naman. This is also very useful in investment mathematics. Thank you very much for listening and see you next time. Bye!